The readings for Sunday, April 2nd. The Matins Gospel reading is from the book of John, chapter 20, verses 19 through 31. Then, the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood in the midst, and said to them, "Peace be with you." And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad when they saw the Lord. So Jesus said to them again, "Peace to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you." And when he had said this, he breathed on them, and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said to him, "We have seen the Lord." So he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." And after 8 days his disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, "Peace to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach your finger here, and look at my hands, and reach your hand here, and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believing." And Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen, and yet have believed." And truly Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have a life in his name. All right. Some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for verses 21 through 23, Christ commissions the disciples to continue his mission on earth, granting them the Holy Spirit in verse 22, and the authority to forgive the sins of others in verse 23. It says to see the articles ordination at Acts 14 and confession at 1 John 1. I know I've been promising, guys. I'm sorry. I'll get to reading some of this supplementary material that's in the Orthodox Study Bible when I get a chance. Hopefully soon. Through this direct consecration and through apostolic continuity, Christ's own priesthood is communicated to the bishops and the presbyters of the church. For verses 24 through 29, the doubt of Thomas is described in the church hymns as, quote, "blessed." For it was not a doubt of resistance to truth, but one that desperately desired a truthful answer. A, quote, "doubt which gave birth to faith," end quote. When the answer was revealed in hymns of the church, Christ says to Thomas, "Your doubt will teach my passion and resurrection to all," end quote. And we affirm that his doubt, quote, "brought the hearts of believers to knowledge," end quote. The conversion of Thomas's doubt into faith led him to the clearest confession of Christ's divinity, addressing Jesus as "my Lord and my God" in verse 28. For verse 30, for the word signs, it says to see the footnote at chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. The epistle reading is from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, chapter 9, verses 11 through 14. But Christ came as high priest of the good things to come, with the greater and more perfect tabernacle not made with hands, that is, not of this creation. Not with the blood of goats and calves, but with his own blood he entered the most holy place once and for all, having obtained eternal redemption. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctifies for the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, cleanse your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. All right. Short one there. And we got some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for this exact passage, verses 11 through 14, Christ, in contrast to the Old Testament high priest, see the footnote on chapter 9, verses 6 through 10, is high priest of the new covenant. He enters the heavenly sanctuary once and for all, as noted in verse 12. Christ's one sacrifice covers all sins by all people for all time. With the blood of Christ, as noted in verse 14, his own human blood, which heals our corrupt humanity, as noted in verse 13 with the word the flesh, restores us to proper relationship to God, pure, as noted in verse 14 with the phrase cleanse your conscience, and holy, and draws us near to God in liturgical worship, as noted in verse 14 with the phrase serve the living God. Dead works, and it says to see chapter 6 verse 1, are human activity in and of this age, participating in mortality and corruption, and normally even in sin. Liturgically, dead works are the actions of Old Covenant worship. And for verse 14, with the phrase eternal Spirit, proof the Holy Spirit is fully God. The liturgical gospel reading is from the book of Mark, chapter 10, verses 32 through 45. Now they were on the road, going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was going before them, and they were amazed. And as they followed, they were afraid. Then he took the 12 aside again, and began to tell them the things that would happen to him. Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and to the scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles. And they will mock him and scourge him and spit on him and kill him. And the third day he will rise again. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him, saying, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. And he said to them, What do you want me to do for you? They said to him, Grant us that we may sit, one on your right hand and the other on your left, in your glory. But Jesus said to them, You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, and to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said to him, We are able. So Jesus said to them, You will indeed drink the cup that I drink, and with the baptism I am baptized with you will be baptized. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared. And when the 10 heard it, they began to be greatly displeased with James and John. But Jesus called them to himself and said to them, You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you shall be your servant, and whoever of you desires to be first shall be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. All right, some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So, for verses 32 through 34. Christ's repeated predictions of his passion were intended to encourage and strengthen the disciples for the terrifying events they would face. They also confirmed that Christ was going to his death of his own will and choosing. For verses 35 through 40, it just says to see the footnote at Matthew chapter 20, verses 20 through 23. And for verse 45, the phrase for many is an Aramaic expression meaning for all. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for today. Hope you guys have a blessed Sunday. Only a couple more weeks till Pascha. Yay. But, please just, as always, keep me in your prayers. And I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend. Take it easy.